Hey, hell of a job out there, man.
Good game, man.
Yeah.
Good game, bro.
Appreciate you. Yeah, way to crush those TPS reports.
Appreciate you, man.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to The Sweat. I'm your host, Jesse Cofield. Got a lot to get to today. Going to continue our conversation with former U.S. men's national team captain Clint Dempsey, talking all things World Cup. We're going to go through tonight's NBA slate. We're going to hit the ice, talk about the NHL slate, but we start with Thursday Night Football. And by we, I mean my trusty co-host, EmersonLotzia.
Indeed, and I am joined here on the desk with DraftKings contributor Steve Buchanan. Pierce Dietrich is here virtually, so we have Week 11 of the NFL season kicking off tonight in Green Bay, where the Packers will host the Titans. Good morning. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. Pierce, how are you? Can't even hear him. That's awesome. Derrick Henry will be one of the top choices for captain for showdown lineups, but for many, could be the only Titan that they'll have in their lineup. Where do you want to go here for your captain play tonight? Again, 1.5 times the salary, but 1.5 times the points in return.
Yeah, I do like going with Aaron Jones here for the Packers.
Wow.
I mean, he's someone that really isn't going to get scripted out of this game. Like Derrick Henry, they have been targeting him a little bit more, still having some difficulty catching out of the backfield where Aaron Jones excels in that. And the Titans have been one of the best teams in the league to target against with running backs who catch out of the backfield. They've allowed the third most receptions in the league to that position here. Gets a lot of the targets, gets the bulk of the carries, so he's going to be used regardless of how this game goes for the Packers, unlike someone like A.J. Dillon, who can be kind of scripted out of this game. So he's one of the more expensive options, but he probably has one of the higher and safer ceilings in this game amongst all the receivers and all the other skill position players for tonight. So I think Jones at 16,800 is your guy for tonight.
All right, interesting strategy there. Pierce, what do you want to do at captain?
I'll take the guy that's going to pass him the ball, and Aaron Rodgers. I still believe in Aaron Rodgers. They seem to have hit rock bottom a couple weeks ago against Detroit. The team has dealt with injuries at wide receiver all season long. Line has had trouble all season long. But the wide receivers are healthy. Looks like they're gelling. The offensive line is healthy. Looks like they're playing well. Rodgers hasn't really been the problem. Hasn't been great. But you look at 2 of the last 3 games, he's had a PFF grade of 89, 84. Sandwiched in between, you've got the bad Detroit game. But it really wasn't a terrible Detroit game. He just made some bonehead moves. Overall, Rodgers is playing well. His receivers are playing well. Technically, in terms of DVOA, Tennessee's been good against the pass. But we don't really care about that. We care about fantasy points. And as Steve alluded to, they give up a lot of receiving fantasy points to running backs. They give up fantasy points to wide receivers, quarterbacks, and tight ends. They're basically at the bottom of the league. I like the way that this team is trending. I'll take Rodgers as my captain.
Yeah, trying to carry that momentum into Thursday night after that big win against Dallas. By the way, Titans allow the 4th most DraftKings points per game to quarterbacks. So for a value play here, how far down the board are you going?
Yeah, I'm going to go right with the Packers defense and special teams here. I think that's a really good play for this week. The Titans are one of the slowest teams in the league. They only take an average of 56.1 plays per game. That's only higher than the Panthers in the entire league at this point. But they also give up a lot of pressure to their quarterback, Ryan Tannehill. He has been under pressure so far this season. Remember, he's missed a few games here. So of the 7 games that he's played, he's under pressure on 40% of his dropbacks. So they should be able to get pressure on him and kind of disrupt his flow, record at least a few sacks in this game. So I think that's a good way to go down for value here, because I think this game is pretty starved for value overall when it comes to those skill position players. So even the Packers DST is a value play.
I don't know. This is where Pierce tends to shine. Pierce, this is someone who's like $100, so you're going to roster tonight?
Yeah, we'll go way to the bottom of the board, and we'll take Samori Toure. Now, Steve's right. The value is not very safe, but you're going to get a low-owned, very cheap receiver. It's a Hail Mary pick, and we're basically betting on a Hail Mary play. But there's a lot of factors that say that this could happen. Rodgers top 5 in intended air yards this season, top 5 when we're talking about 30-yard passes and deep passes. And if you watched the game a couple weeks ago against the Bills, he hit a 38-yard touchdown pass to Samori Toure. And look, he's not going to get a lot of volume, especially with Cobb back. Watson has emerged. The volume's not there. But actually, the looks that he does get with Watson and Cobb on the field, it's probably going to be a pretty good look. Tennessee, worst in DVOA when it comes to deep passes. Second most intended air yards allowed, 5th most touchdown passes allowed. We're basically betting on a big play, and if that big play comes through, then you are way up on the field.
All right, speaking of betting, what's a player prop? Who's someone you're going to bet on tonight? You know that Derrick Henry's got to be a real popular one on the DK Sportsbook, especially how he runs and the fact that the Packers defense allows more than 140 yards rushing per game.
Yeah, I think you got to go right to Derrick Henry to go over 99.5 rushing yards. Like, we're basically saying that we need Henry to go 100 yards to win this bet here, which seems like a lot. But even if he does do that, this would be the 6th time this season already that he'd be going over 100 yards. You just mentioned how bad this Packers run defense has been all season long. But even when teams are able to tackle Derrick Henry, he has just been an absolute monster in that type of scenario. He leads the league with over 700 yards after contact in the league, 766 to be exact. Just to kind of put that into perspective, next in line is Nick Chubb, and he has 611. So we're talking about 155 more yards after contact than anybody else in the league right now. That's what you have for Derrick Henry. He should absolutely be going over 100 rushing yards, because even if they're struggling to move the ball through the air, and I said that, obviously if Derrick Henry can't get scripted out of this game, I think they're going to give him the ball early and often. I still think he goes over 100 rushing yards.
Run first team going to hand the ball to Derrick Henry time and time again tonight. Pierce, who are you looking at for a player prop?
Well, let me just continue with my theme. Samori Toure touchdown plus 950. It's kind of surprising that this number isn't even larger. Aaron Rodgers is at plus 950 as well, which kind of tells you that this isn't really outlandish or unexpected for Toure to get into the end zone. Leads the team with an 18.9 ADOT. As I mentioned before, Tennessee allows the deep pass. They're the worst in the league. They've given up a ton of receiving touchdowns. I like going with him. You might even want to think about a Randall Cobb touchdown in the red zone.
All right, guys, game bet time now. So as of right now, we're looking at Green Bay Packers, 3.5-point favorite at home. Total sitting at 41. Packers minus 170 on the money line. Steve, which one catches your eye?
I like taking the under in this game at 41. It's a really low total to begin with here, but like I mentioned earlier, the Titans are one of the slowest paced teams in the league. They want to run the ball. They don't get off a lot of plays per game here. They haven't exactly been putting up a lot of points here either. They've been under 20 points in 4 straight games now that they've played. And like I mentioned, we can get a lot of pressure on Ryan Tannehill here. So if they're not having success to go through the air, they're going to go through Derrick Henry to run the ball. And that's obviously going to throw down the pace of play. And that obviously leads to lower scoring here too as well. So I know this is a low total, but unders have been crushing it all season long. They've been hitting it almost 60% of the time so far this year. So I think we see another low-scoring Thursday Night Football game, which is exactly what everybody wants to hear. Hashtag sarcasm.
Pierce, Titans 4-0 ATS on the road in their last 4 games.
Yeah, but I like Green Bay's trends at home ATS. So give me Green Bay, lay the points, 13-6 against the spread at home. Green Bay is a tough place to play in November and December. You look at their last 9 regular season games in November and December at home. They've won all 9 of those games. They've covered in 7 of those 9, almost 8 of 9. They just missed against Carolina last year or 2 years ago because they covered 8 points when it should have been 8.5. I'm not going to bet against Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay at home in November and an old Derrick Henry who's kind of slowing down a little bit. So I'll lay the points, take Green Bay.
Wow. Is that right? Well, you still like his over on the rushing prop, despite Pierce mentioning he's slowing down. We're all slowing down as we get older.
I know, is that supposed to be an insult to
Yeah, I don't quite understand.
I'm not slowing down.
I don't know why you're. Yeah, okay, that's true.
I'm getting better every day.
You do look good, but I don't know if that's just the shirt and tie combo. Pierce, you're good to go. You hang out. Let's do some MLB hot stove conversation. Yeah, I know it is. Yeah, we had some big dudes signing right now. But from football to football, we are nearing the start of the 2022 World Cup. This Sunday, Steve, it starts. I know you're a big World Cup guy. We're going to have our sweaty boot boys dishing out bets coming up. But first, the final part of our conversation with Clint Dempsey.
Ooh.
All right, so Japan's kind of like a dark horse. Are there any other like long shots you could see? I mean, not to necessarily even win it, but maybe one that could make a run and maybe bust some brackets here?
Yeah, I think some that would surprise some people that are not familiar with CONCACAF. I think Canada. They have a strong team. They have 2 strong number 9s in David and Kyle Larin, who showed during the World Cup qualifying process that they were a handful. I think they're a team that can upset a lot of people and go on a run.
What about Brazil? Like, I don't think it's a shocker to see Brazil as the favorite here, but I mean, you know the sport better than anybody else on the planet. Like, are they really head and shoulders better than everybody else in this field?
I mean, the 2 top teams for me are Brazil and Argentina. I think they're the 2 teams that they're going to win it. It's theirs for the taking. They're playing really well, and the quality that they have in their team. So those are the teams that stand out for me.
You know the last time Brazil failed to advance out of the first group stage, what year that was? It was 1966, and there were only 16 teams in the tournament, man. They're so
crazy.
damn good. Even Lionel Messi the other day was like, yeah, I'm taking Brazil. Like, he didn't even mention like his own team.
But I think there's a crazy stat out there that the team that normally goes into the World Cup that's ranked number 1 or the favorites is a team that never wins. So it'd be interesting to see, as them being seen as the favorites, are there a team that's going to break that and be able to get it done?
Yeah, because I think about like Croatia, right? Was that 2018? Like they were such a long shot that year. This is a fact I found like an hour ago, that they weren't even in FIFA 18 until like a month before the World Cup.
Wow.
No one expected anything from Croatia in 2018.
But that's what you love about tournaments.
It's fantastic.
You need to have that. You need to have the upsets, the Cinderella teams, the things that you don't expect. That's what makes it why everybody wants to watch it.
I know your playing days are over here, but what have you been doing now to keep busy in your free time?
Well, I have
besides hang out here at DraftKings and raid our swag closet.
Exactly, man. I'm all suited up, but I have 5 kids, so they keep me pretty busy running up the roads. They're all involved in the game, so it's fun being able to take them to games. But in my free time, I enjoy golfing, fishing, and hunting, and being outdoors.
Okay, what other projects you got going on right now?
Well, I do a little bit of analyst work. I've been doing some stuff with CBS and also with Fox. With Fox, I'll be going over to Qatar and working the World Cup, so that'll be fun.
Okay. And you're not getting out of here. You're not getting out of here without giving us a prediction. Let's go. Clint Dempsey, who is going to win the World Cup? Pressure is on right now.
It's on. We talked about it earlier. The 2 teams I said was Brazil and Argentina, but I think the better story would be Argentina because it'd be Messi's last World Cup, and I think it'd be his 1,000th game if he gets to the final. And I think what better story than to have him win the World Cup with Argentina on his 1,000th game, and they haven't done it since 1986. So
damn, look at this. It's almost like you've been doing your homework, like preparing to cover the World Cup.
Exactly. That's what you got to do.
You just wrote a Hollywood script right here,
There we go.
man.
Let's make the movie.
That was perfect. Hey, thanks for hanging out with us,
yes,
man.
Sir. Appreciate you.
Safe travels over there, and we'll be looking forward to hearing you call these games on Fox.
Sounds good. Appreciate you.
So yeah, the World Cup kicks off this weekend, and we see the usual suspects atop the betting board on the DK Sportsbook to win the whole damn thing. Still looking for a place to wager on the winner of the tournament? You looking to place a wager, rather? We have DK Nation. I can't even read.
Yeah, it's okay.
Oh my God! And
You were really close there.
wrote that. That's what's so pathetic about it.
Yeah.
I can't read the words that I wrote.
Yeah.
Anywho, let's talk best bets for the World Cup. DK Nation, Chinmay Vaidya, Rotowires, AJ Schultz, here to lend a hand. Let's go.
Yeah.
Good morning, guys. Treat this as like our EPL segment every week.
Sure.
All right?
Yeah.
And the complete opposite of your sweaty boot picks, although I think last week they hit.
Yeah. Guys, let's talk about USA for a minute here. Got to start there. Their odds to come out of Group B is plus 500, okay? So they're minus 105 to make the knockout stage, plus 1,200 to make the semifinals, and plus 13,000 to win it all. Which bets would you put down on them, AJ?
I mean, at plus 1,300, like, do you put like a little bit of a sprinkle on that one just in case it happens, right? But look, even at like, plus 500 to win the group, like with England in there, that's just so tough. There would have to be a pretty significant upset there. I think, it's really going to come down to whether they what they can do in that first match against Wales. Like, if you assume both clubs can beat Iran and both will lose to England, which is definitely supported by the odds on the DK Sportsbook, it comes down to whether or not they can top Wales or beat, Iran by more, and then you're getting into goal differential. Honestly, for me, I'm just not that confident in this club. I think I'd rather bet Wales to advance at plus 100. I know that's crazy to say. I'm hoping it doesn't happen. I'd like them to go all the way here, but I'm just not seeing them make it out of this group.
Chinmay, do you agree?
So when this draw initially happened, USA was plus 150 to advance out of the group, and that was because we didn't know who the third team was going to be. It was England, Iran, and a team to be named later after the playoff. And now that it's Wales, the U.S. is actually minus 105 to get out. So the odds have actually improved a little bit for the Americans here. And I do think they'll get out. This U.S. team, there's a lot of hype, and it's deservedly so from the fans. They're really excited for this team. Now, some recent results haven't gone America's way, and would it surprise me if the U.S. beat England in this group? No, not really. But would it also surprise me if the U.S. lost to Iran in this group? No. This U.S. team is still very inconsistent. And I think, like AJ said, it will come down to that first match against Wales. And that'll be something to see, really how they do and set them up for this tournament. I do like the minus 105 to get out of the group and qualify for the knockout round. And I think plus 400 to make the quarterfinal, I think that's definitely something to watch out for, because if they do finish runners-up in this group, which I do think they will, their first knockout game match would be against the Group A winner, which I think will be Netherlands. And Netherlands has had some struggles recently in the Euro and in the World Cup. And I think the U.S. could actually win that game too. So plus 400 to make the quarterfinal, I think that's a good bet there for the Americans.
All right, Chinmay, let's dive into some other group futures here. Give me a couple group winners you really like either their number here on the DK Sportsbook or maybe a heavy hitter you expect to just absolutely roll.
A lot of the favorites are pretty highly priced out. You're not going to find much value there unless you grab 2 or 3 of them in a parlay. I really like Germany at plus 115 because really the only competition in that group, in my eyes, will be Spain. And it'll come down to that Germany-Spain game to see who wins that group. So I would take Germany at plus 115. And another one that I think not a lot of people will agree with, but I actually do like Switzerland at plus 550 to win that group. They're with Brazil, who is the favorite to win the whole thing. But I do think Group G is actually quite tricky for Brazil. Switzerland is no pushover. We saw what they did in the Euro. Serbia has a lot of talent. And Cameroon has historically done well in World Cups and in, international competitions. So I do like Switzerland as the more consistent team without the pressure that Brazil will have to win the whole thing. Switzerland at plus 550, I think, is tremendous value.
Didn't you say for the show you like Germany?
Yeah.
We were all just naming our random fast quick picks, and you were like Germany.
Germany.
Good for you, dude. You
The
and Chinmay on the
Germans.
same page.
They're
AJ,
usually
what
pretty
about?
good though. So.
Yeah, for sure, dude. AJ, what about you?
Yeah, I actually, talking about upsets here, I don't hate the idea of taking Denmark at plus 225 to win Group D over France. This is a French squad that's still smarting from a disappointing performance at the Euros. And while Denmark have a pretty deep squad and they're going to get Christian Eriksen back, so I like their chances at plus 225 here. And then meanwhile, the odds aren't great, but I anticipate Netherlands will cruise through their group. So I'm not sure I take them to win their group because the odds don't pay off super well, but you can get them at plus 200 to win all group games in that group. The hardest one for them will be Senegal off their Africa Cup of Nations win. But other than that, you're looking at a pretty weak Ecuador squad, and then Qatar, the hosts, should be pretty much a walkthrough for most of those teams. So I like Netherlands to win all 3 of their group games.
Yeah, and with that Group D too, looking at the bracket here, it comes with the prize of likely avoiding Argentina too in the round of 16.
And they're the second favorite on the board.
Indeed, they are.
Definitely want to avoid them.
Wait, France? France, yeah, plus 700 there. Wow.
They're the third, yeah.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, cool. Well, of course, on the DK Sportsbook, we got tons of props and some tournament specials. So total red cards, total corner kicks, total games with more than 2 goals, really fun stuff. So what's a tournament special that you're looking at, AJ?
Yeah, I got 2 of them here for you. You mentioned the red cards. There were just 4 red cards at the 2018 tournament, so 8.5 seems really high to me. I like the under in that one. And then there was also just one 0-0 draw last time out back in Russia. So I'll target the under in 0-0 games here at -120 as well.
Okay, where are we going, Chinmay?
I'm going to stay away from the red cards, mostly because I think it only takes 1 or 2 games where the teams get kind of chippy and everything goes out the window. So I'm going to stay away from the cards here. -280 on a first-time winner for no is actually pretty good, because really at this point, you'd be banking on Portugal or Netherlands going all the way and winning it. All the other major favorites have won before. So -280 no as the first-time winner is actually pretty solid. And then if you look at the winning confederation, CONMEBOL, which is the South American Confederation, they have Argentina and Brazil as the top 2 as the favorites to win it all. That's +160. So if you really believe that Argentina and Brazil are going to get there, that +160 is good value.
All right, what about best bet for a team to make the semifinals here, Chinmay? I'm sure Croatia and Denmark could be some intriguing options here.
There will be a lot of intrigue around Croatia after their run to the final in 2018, and Denmark is getting Christian Eriksen back, as AJ mentioned, which is a nice boost for them. I hinted at this team earlier. I think they're flying a little bit under the radar here just because of their group placement. I like Germany to make the semifinal, +200. I think that's really good value there. And really at this point is where everybody is at plus money. Every team is at plus money here once you get into the semifinal round. So you really can't go wrong with making a bet here. But I like Germany a little bit down the board. I think the bracket will set up well for them if they do indeed win their group, which I think they will, as I mentioned earlier. So I like the Germans to make a deep run here and get to the semifinal.
All right, AJ. Chinmay says can't go wrong making a bet here with everyone at plus money. So go ahead, make one.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to Netherlands on this one. They come in at +210 here, and I think they have the easiest path to get there. Their group should be a relative breeze for them. They should come out on top of that. Potential to face the United States or Wales in the round of 16, which means their only real difficult test to get to the semifinal would be Argentina. Certainly, they're not an easy squad led by Lionel Messi, but they have the depth, I think, to do it. And so for me, I like the Netherlands at +210.
All right, finally, AJ, who's winning it all?
I think this is finally the year that Belgium's golden generation gets it done here. They should win their group pretty easily. That would put them potentially in a matchup with a relatively unimpressive Spanish side. And then it comes down to a semifinal matchup potentially with England to determine a spot in the final. They've got Kevin De Bruyne playing really some of his best soccer of his career. And I think this is a good chance for Belgium to win their first World Cup. And the fact that they come in at +1,800 odds here is really good value as well.
All right, Chinmay, who's winning it all?
I think the important thing to note here before you make a bet on the winner or a finalist and things like that is to wait until the bracket actually sets itself up, because we know things are going to change. Somebody's going to slip up. There will be an unexpected adjustment in the seeding. And then all of a sudden, the matchup that you thought was going to happen is not going to be there. So that would be my advice. You're probably still going to get every winner is probably still going to be at plus money, but you'll have a better idea of their potential path once you get through and see what the bracket is. For me, this has been a pipe dream for a long time for me. I want to see Argentina and Brazil in the final. And after losing that Copa America in 2021, I have Brazil returning the favor here to Argentina and winning the World Cup.
Wow. Betting with your heart and your mind. That's what it feels
beautiful.
like. Chinmay, thanks, dude. AJ, thank you as well. We're going to switch gears and head to the ice. Big slate tonight. So Anna and Jeff are going to help us build some money-making lineups right after this break.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to The Sweat. It is time to take this show to the ice. We got a big NHL slate tonight, 13 games. We need some help figuring out how to fill out these lineups. All right, so we got DraftKings contributor Jeff Ulrich, NHL.com's AnnaNoelleDua. They are here to do just that. So, like I said, guys, absolutely massive slate, 13 games. Who is the pick at center tonight, Anna?
13 games. Let's start with number 13 for the New Jersey Devils. I'm looking at Nico Hischier. He's valued at $6,000 tonight, and you cannot doubt the Devils anymore after what they've done to start this season. Hischier has 17 points and 8 goals in 15 games this year. He's been a force on this win streak for the Devils. He's on their top line, top power play unit with Bratt, Hughes, Hamilton. The Devils are racking up those shots against every team they play against. They have the second most in the NHL with 37.2.
Damn. What is that, 10-game win streak for them?
Woo!
Almost 11, maybe 11 tonight.
Hot.
Emerson
Dig
can't
it
even
down.
count that high, so.
No,
Yeah,
you
he
know what?
can't.
You're right, Jeff. Thanks.
Jeff, what's up?
What's up?
What's up, dude?
Give us
Come
your
on.
pick at center.
Oh, no, I just thought, what's up? Like, hey, guys.
Hey, what's
I'm
up?
going to go with Patrice Bergeron. I don't know why you wouldn't want to take a part piece of the top line for the Bees here. I mean, Philadelphia, great start to the year. Guess what? They're still the Flyers. Carter Hart regressing. Boston rested and at home. They've just been sitting at home waiting for the Flyers for the last 3 days. This Bees first line has basically been unstoppable. So, I mean, there's some nice matchups and stuff like that across the board here, but this is just the mismatch of the century tonight with Boston at home and this top line well rested. So I think Bergeron is a player you pay up for. He's been scoring goals lately. Again, Marchand back. 7,300 I think is a very fair price here. You know, there's a couple other studs on the slate here, but I think you're getting just as good upside with Bergeron as you are with a lot of the big names at center today.
Okay, so do you stack them with one of his line mates there? Talking about Boston here, you can go Pasternak, top of the board on the wings and things department, $9,100. Marchand, $7,800 here, Jeff.
You absolutely could. I mean, you can pay up. You could probably create a pretty unique lineup by doing that. But, I'm going to talk about someone else because I do like another spot here. And I like the spot for the San Jose Sharks, actually. Timo Meier is a player that I think has just as much upside as like the Boston Wingers and some of the other expensive wingers, but he's only 7,500. I mean, there's really not much to not like here. I mean, averaging 5.5 shots per game, playing the Detroit Red Wings, who, they allow a good number of shots. They're not very good at the penalty kill. And you look at the Sharks over the last 3 games, outscored opponents 15-8. They're creating chances. They're 4th in high danger chances this year. Like, this offense should be showing more signs of positive regression. So I really like the price on Timo Meier. I mean, again, if you're not going to pay up for like a double stack there in Boston, I think getting Meier in your lineup at 7,500 more than reasonable.
All right, Anna. Brad Marchand, by the way, 5 goals, 17 points in just 8 games. Like, this is a Connor McDavid-like scoring pace since he returned from injury.
Can I raise you a different black and yellow? What about Rickard Rakell of the Pittsburgh Penguins? He's at 4,700, leads the team in shots this season with 54, has 2 goals on 6 shots in his past 2 games. He might be playing with Sidney Crosby and Jake Guentzel tonight, and they're playing against a Minnesota Wild team that is without Marc-Andre Fleury. He's out with an upper body injury, so I'm liking the Penguins tonight.
All right, let's move on over to the D-line.
Yeah.
Anna,
Let's do that.
Who's going to be anchoring your D-line here?
I really like the value of Josh Morrissey for the Winnipeg Jets. He's at 4,800, tied for 7th among all NHL defensemen in points, leads the Jets in points with 15 this season, and is second at the position in the NHL in assists with 14. So he's been having a great year, and they're playing the Anaheim Ducks. The Anaheim Ducks allowing the second most goals in the entire league with 4.31, and the most shots on goal per game with 38.8.
All right, where are we going? We got to move on to our next D person, Jeff. Who do you like? And what's up, Jeff?
What's up?
Hey.
I mean, look, like, I really like stacking the Sharks today. I don't think that like paying up for Meier and Karlsson is bad in the spot, but I'm gonna give you some better value. I can't just spend all this money. I mean, we only have like 50K salaries here. So Hampus Lindholm at 5,400. I know McAvoy's back, but Lindholm's second or was second in points for the Bruins. I know Marchand's probably caught him at this point, but I mean, this guy's just been racking up assists. I mean, still playing well over 23 minutes. He's only 5,400. And again, a little bit playing the matchup here. I think there's definitely a chance where he could pick up a couple, just even power play assists, whatever. Again, he's just going to be on the ice a ton against the Philadelphia Flyers in a game where Boston are heavy favorites. I think Hampus Lindholm is still really good value at 5,400. But again, I mean, like, I do not mind making lineups with Erik Karlsson tonight If you can pay up there, going to be unique. I think most people on this big slate will say try and look for some value. But Carlson just has that immense upside. Pretty much leading the defensive ranks in terms of that this year.
So your top value option tonight, because on a 13-game slate, there is a smorgasbord of value to choose from.
There is. That's a big word too. Blake Wheeler at 3,900. I definitely don't hate. I mean, I think some of these Winnipeg Jets forwards just looking ultimately too cheap. Almost went with Kyle Connor as my main wing pick, but Blake Wheeler's only 3,900 here, going up against basically one of the worst defensive teams in the Anaheim Ducks. Allow the most shots on net against. Wheeler's still playing big minutes. Goal in his last game was 6 shots. I think this is fine to look for some value here with the top 6 and the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, again, they're pretty heavy favorites at home. You've got the Ducks. Most of these wingers, a couple of these wingers are definitely going to have, what just going to be outscoring their pace most likely from the season. So I know the Jets offense hasn't been all that good, been more of a defensive story this year, but I think targeting a guy like Blake Wheeler tonight is completely fine.
Anna, who sits atop your value play rankings tonight?
I'm going to Alberta right now, and I'm looking at Adam Ruzicka of the Calgary Flames. He's on 2 consecutive multi-point games in his past 2 games with the Flames. He's only played 5 games this season, but he's a point-per-game player right now with 5 points in those 5 games. And Jonathan Huberdeau returned to the Flames lineup, but Ruzicka still on that line with Lindholm and Toffoli. So that line's going to produce. I like their matchup against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay's been allowing a decent amount of goals this year. They're kind of shaky. If there's a time to capitalize on them, it's right now before they figure things out. So I'm looking at Ruzicka.
All right, good stuff, guys. Appreciate the time. As always, that's all the time we have for hockey. But with snow predicted for the Bills-Browns game this weekend, let's crank up the MLB hot stove, or at least electric heater, you know what I mean? If we're talking
that snow.
MLB player movement. That's
Melt
next.
it. Melt the snow. Hey. All right, the baseball gods, flip it on the burners, baby. The MLB hot stove has been ignited, Steve Buchanan. It is steamy in here. It is chilly outside, but it is steamy in here. We are on a hot stove right now. You want to talk what?
It's your turn to talk.
Would you like to? Eric Halterman is also
Eric Halterman is also here with Steve Buchanan. So we're going to break down the latest news around Major League Baseball in this steamy hot stove.
It is my turn to talk, so I'll just get to it, Steve. Let's start with the guys who accepted their qualifying offer, right? Martin Perez, Josh Peterson. So interesting note on this. Since 2012, when the current qualifying offer system started, only 13 of the 124 players have accepted. So with that said, Are Perez and Peterson taking advantage of the set $19.65 million, or are the Rangers and Giants actually like getting value here?
I think the Rangers are actually getting the real value here. Jock Peterson, not surprised that he accepted that qualifying offer. He had a good year overall. His batting average was up. He didn't hit as many home runs as he usually is. That's someone who can be in that 30 home run range, hit 23 last year. But I was surprised that Perez actually did accept that arbitration offer just because he had his best season of his career last year. And if you're behind a defense, a very good fielding team, Martin Perez is the perfect guy to have on your team because he induces a ton of ground balls, doesn't strike out a lot of guys, doesn't give a lot of home runs. I felt he could have got more on the open market if he ended up going on there. So I'm surprised that he did take that offer there. But 2.89 ERA, the lowest of his career last year. So I'm surprised he didn't go out and try to find something else there.
Yeah, Eric, are you surprised that he accepted this offer?
Count me as, I think, a little less surprised here. I think both Perez and Peterson fall into that group of players where it's no surprise they get given a qualifying offer, and it's no surprise to me that they accept them because you want them on your team next year, but I'm not sure how many years beyond that you want them. Both guys aren't particularly young. Perez turning 32 in April, and yes, he was excellent last year, but man, we've seen a lot of Martin Perez, and a lot of it didn't look like that. 4.71 career ERA heading into last season. Yes, he was at 2.89 last year, but some of the ERA estimators still had him over 4. So if you didn't buy into all of that improvement, then you think he's definitely better than he was, but we're just not sure how much better and for how much longer. I think without that draft pick compensation attached, more teams would have taken a shot, maybe say a 3-year deal at $15 million a year or something like that. But with that draft pick compensation, I don't think any team wanted to shell out too much long-term for a guy who's already getting older and has only really had one season where he was a particularly notable pitcher.
Bukes, 2 players declining their qualifying offers, but still signing. So Rizzo's like, peace out, Yankees, JK, I'm going to re-sign with you. And then you got Tyler Anderson going from the Dodgers all the way across town to Anaheim for the Angels. So which deal do you like best here? Because the Anderson one, this screams like it's a move that the Angels now want to compete, right? Try to compete, as it could be their last year with Ohtani on the roster.
I mean,
Right?
if you're wanting to compete, I don't know if the first building block that you're going to use is Tyler Anderson.
I mean, trying to. This is the first move.
They've been
Yeah, so
trying
they're
to
not
for years.
trying
Okay,
very
well,
well.
trying
And,
to.
you know, Rendon, Upton, all these moves that they made over the past few years. I like the one for Anthony Rizzo. He has definitely found a home in Yankee Stadium. He's been able to take advantage of that short porch, and that's why of the home runs he had last year, the 32 home runs he had last year, 19 of them came at home. So he's obviously utilizing that short porch very well. He's comfortable on the Yankees team too as well. He's been great defensively, and that's what that team needs. Somebody who is not overly expensive, doesn't cost a lot of money, but can give you good defense, can give you some of that power. I know they used him all around the lineup here. He can lead off if they want, hits in the middle of the lineup here, but I like that move a lot for them. I think he was playing well as a Yankee, plays well in that stadium, can handle the pressure well, so I think that was one of the better moves of the 2 that you just mentioned.
All right, what do you think here, Eric? Rizzo tied a career high, hitting 32 home runs last season, and then Anderson turned his best season of his Major League Baseball career up to this point to a huge payday.
Yeah, I think the Rizzo deal seems very fair. I think the Yankees can trust him to be a solidly above average starter, not quite a star who deserves $30 million, but $20 million for 2 years, so that you're not tied to him into too much of his decline phase. I think that's a great deal for the Yankees and perfectly fine for Rizzo as well. The Anderson side, though, I feel like he should have gotten something more similar to Martin Perez. They are so similar. He's a 32-year-old lefty who wasn't really good before last season. Great last year, 2.57 ERA. But again, some of the ERA estimators just over 4. So it's another older pitcher who's had one notable season, and even that notable season, there are questions. Tying yourself to him for 3 years, that's not something I'd be too comfortable with, but I think in the Angels' position, they need to go all out. Even if I don't love the deal on a dollars per win basis, I think the Angels have to do everything they can. And as a fan who wants to see Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani in the playoffs, sure, go sign all these guys and give them a chance.
All right, now for the fun stuff. We got some big names in the starting pitching market. DeGrom, Verlander, Rodon highlighting the field. So which team needs to grab one of these guys? And Steve, are the Mets going to pay up for DeGrom?
I mean, they're going to try. If there's anybody who has the pockets and the audacity to do so, it's Uncle Steve Cohen. He's going to do what he's going to do to get the team. That being said, the Rangers need to get one of these guys. And Jared Carrabis has talked about this. He thinks that Jacob DeGrom is going to the Rangers, but they got to grab at least one of these guys. Last season, they spent over $500 million on these new acquisitions, and they still couldn't even be over 500. They came in 4th in the American League West last year. Would have easily been in last place if it wasn't for the Oakland Athletics, soon to be Las Vegas Athletics. That being said, they need to get a front line starter because all these guys that they brought on for that offense, all these high-powered power bats, will put them over the hump, but they need to also be able to really have one of that frontline starter in their rotation too as well. So I think the Rangers are the team that really needs to grab one of these starters. I mean, you could name off a number of teams that need starters right now, but the Rangers, with the investments they made in the offense, they need to do so in the starting rotation too as well.
Okay, Eric, so which one of these guys do you think ends up with the Rangers?
It's interesting. I could see the Rangers going for any of them, but the surprise dark horse team that I want to see making a push is actually the Baltimore Orioles. They ran the second lowest payroll in 2022, and I don't think they need to be that low. I don't think we're expecting them to compete with the Mets and Dodgers on a year-to-year basis, but they could easily be back towards the middle of the pack. And not only do they have a low payroll now, they're going to have a low for several years because so much of their core is so young. Adley Rutschman is not going to get paid like Adley Rutschman deserves for 5 years at least, maybe more like 7 to the next 15 or something. They have a decent sized window here of 2 to 3 years where they definitely have started to assemble the pieces, but those pieces don't cost much yet. So why not blow DeGrom or Verlander out of the water, try to compete with these teams over just, say, a 2-year deal? They really need to jumpstart that competitive window and go from a team that you think, hey, maybe we should take them seriously this year, to no, they really are a contender, especially in the AL East, one of the toughest divisions out there. It's not really fair to the Orioles, but they need to do more than other fringy teams to get all the way back to competitiveness. And I think if they make a move for one of these big pitchers, I think that could be one of the most exciting things in terms of shaking up the overall playoff field.
I mean, Buke's kind of the similar situation here at shortstop because it's the strongest position in this free agent class. It's absolutely loaded. Correa, Turner, Bogarts, they all could find new homes. So which team makes the most logical sense for one of these guys? You've seen Bogarts to the Phillies rumors. You've seen Turner to the Red Sox rumors. Correa to the Cubs.
Yep. No, I think the Phillies are a dangerous team when it comes to getting that shortstop there because we just got word yesterday that Bryce Harper's going to be getting surgery on his UCL, so he's going to maybe not even be ready for opening day. So they're really going to need to replace that power in the middle of the lineup, especially if he's not ready. So Gene Segura is no longer with the Phillies too, so they have that opening at shortstop here. So it makes sense that they are the team that grabs one of these guys. The Bogarts thing is very interesting too because who's making decisions over in Philly? It's Dave Dombrowski, who is obviously very familiar with Xander Bogaerts, has that relationship with him already. I don't know if that's the guy they're going to get, but one of these 3 guys should be landing with the Phillies because they need that position and they need that power bat. All of these guys can obviously do that there. All of these guys are great defensively, which also is a massive need for the Phillies. They were one of the worst fielding teams in the league last season, so they need to improve on their defense and offense, especially because you don't know what you're going to get out of Bryce Harper next year. So I think Philly is going to be a dangerous team when it comes to that shortstop position.
All right, Eric, I've seen some reports say keep an eye on the Mariners as a serious challenge for Bogarts.
I didn't want to say it, but
okay, all right,
He's trying not to be all about his team.
Yep.
Yeah, the thing about these shortstops is the shortstop is the toughest defensive position, right? So there's going to be more competition than we expect. It really could be anybody. You mentioned the Mariners. They've got J.P. Crawford. He's a completely solid shortstop, but you can add a star shortstop and play him anywhere or play your current shortstop anywhere. You saw the Red Sox do that last year, getting Trevor Story. Playing him at second base didn't obviously result in an overall good season for the Red Sox and a disappointing year for Story, but the logic made perfect sense. You can do that with any of these guys, and that's going to push even more teams into the market for all of them. But I agree with Steve. I think the Phillies have to get one of them. They're an obvious contender. I mean, they just made the World Series. They have the power to spend, and most importantly, they have a very quickly closing window. Bryce Harper, JT Realmuto, Kyle Schwarber, Rhys Hoskins, Nick Castellanos, Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, all of those guys are between age 29 and 32. I don't know how many more years this Phillies core has, so if they can get one of those big shortstops to extend it for at least, another 2 or 3 years, I think Trey Turner might be the one that makes sense. There's the connection with Bryce Harper. Normally, I don't buy much into a player trying to be a GM in baseball, but it seems like Harper might have a little bit more influence than most teams. He was seemingly pretty instrumental in getting the team to bring back JT Realmuto. So if he's out there pushing for Trey Turner, if you start to see rumors that he's actually getting involved, that's the deal that I would expect to actually happen.
All right, good stuff, guys. One thing to note before we let you go, just announced on social media, Shohei Ohtani is going to play for Japan in the 2023 World Baseball Classic. Going to be his first time playing. He was slated to play in 2017, but had some sort of an ankle injury.
That's right.
And couldn't do it, so going to suit up for Japan. Pretty cool.
Okay, I guess he could possibly serve as the closer for Team Japan.
They'll probably win now. They
Yes.
have won, like, the first 2 times.
They're
So.
pretty damn
They got some
good.
nasty players over there.
Pretty damn good at baseball.
Mm-hmm.
If you're watching right now and you really enjoyed what Steve just had to say, which we all did, please just hang on where you are, because this morning we all held a fun little download party. We all downloaded the latest edition of the Unreasonable Odds podcast. We all listened to it while we were prepping for the show. And here's a little teaser of this week's episode, Steve. This was really passionate. Jeff Ulrich and Steve Buchanan on one interesting total for this Sunday slate around the NFL. I like your words here.
We have the 2 teams that run the most in the National Football League going against each other. The Bears at 60%, the Falcons at 56%. That usually doesn't lead to a ton of points. So I'm either like, I'm going to take the under on this and feel like an idiot by the second quarter, or I'm going to take the under on this and be like, how the hell did we get 50 points for this game? There's no middle.
It feels like you're buying the top if you're taking the over, doesn't it? I mean, what would the total have been between these 2 teams in week 2? Like 40?
43?
Maybe.
42?
Like maybe 43. I think that's even like optimistic. So yeah, no, I'm kind of with you. This is a really public bet too, going over. But I think there's a lot of routes where, like, I think there's a lot of variables in this game. I think Atlanta could run the ball, and they could, Mariota could run like a 50-yard touchdown or something himself.
Yeah.
And this game could get out of control. But there's a lot of scenarios where Atlanta just runs for 3 yards like a million times, and this game is like over quick, and it's 2017. You're like, my God, I can't believe I took the over on the 50. So I'm with you. I think you're buying the top here. I think the under is definitely the side I want for the total. I know we talked about this morning as well, and I was kind of perplexed that everyone was happy to jump on the over. It's just the Justin Fields fever's hitting everybody. I like the spot for him, but I think that this will be a little bit of a lower scoring game, with the Bears probably eking out just because they have the best offensive player, probably eking out a close win.
We have the 2 teams that run
Thursday's
the most.
NBA slate.
There we go.
Thursday's NBA slate pretty small here.
Yeah, it looks like just 3 games.
Wow.
One more than 2, one less than
Teeny
4.
tiny.
Nets
So you got to
with the
differentiate yourself with your lineups then, if there's only a couple games here.
Yeah,
right?
so let's do some NBA zone coverage.
Let's do that.
GarionThorne is here. Who else is here?
Nick Fryer.
Nick Fryer is here as well. So, Garion, you're going to take care of the DFS side of these 3 games. Nick, you're on the sportsbook side. Gare Bear, let's start with Nets and the Blazers. My God, the Nets just absolutely getting blown out the other night. KD is their only option. What was his quote after the game? He's like, "Look around, look at these guys. What do you expect from us?" Who's your favorite DFS play in this game?
Yeah, I don't. There's a couple different ways you could take this, I guess. Like, you could maybe play one of the guys he legitimately named as his underwhelming teammates. I'm going to go an opposite route and say that, like, maybe Cam Thomas sees this as an opportunity. Maybe he read between the lines of that quote is like, oh, KD wants me to take over, because he didn't say my name. And that's kind of what Cam Thomas has been doing anyway for Brooklyn, with Kyrie Irving unavailable. You look into the stats from the 7 games the Nets have played since Irving's suspension. Cam Thomas is 4th on the team in minutes at 180. He's 2nd on the team in usage rate to, obviously, Kevin Durant, up at 23.6%. His DFS output hasn't always been the most consistent. That's going to happen when you're coming off the bench. But I think Thomas is locked into 20 to 25 minutes tonight. And if he's going to be hovering around that 25% usage rate, I think the upside kind of outweighs the lack of floor here. And then when you factor in he's only $4,200, I think he's a really, really nice piece on a small slate.
Yeah, by the way, Irving will miss his 8th consecutive game tonight, but reports today say he could return as soon as Sunday, which I'm sure Kevin Durant would love a little bit of help in that one.
I'm also sure that won't happen. Nick, on the sportsbook side here, is this an easy over after the Nets gave up 153 on Tuesday? Or will they actually show up here? Like, what's the bet?
No.
You know, one would think that the over would be the way to go with this number being so low at 221, but I actually am going to go with the under here. It's 4-3 when the Nets are underdogs, 5-3 when the Nets are on the road, and when they are road dogs, the under is 4-2. When you look at Portland, they're the under is 1-1-1 when they're favored, 2-2-2 when they're at home. So pretty much the other team is usually going to dictate the general scoring output of a game. With Yusuf Nurkic questionable too, we don't know if he's going to get in. He was in last game for the Blazers. The under went 2-1 during that stretch that he was out, and it was also a push in his return. As far as who's going to win this game and the spread and everything, I actually do want to take the Nets straight up in this one tonight. Portland does cover a lot after they win. They're 7-2 against the spread after wins, but they're a coin flip when it comes to winning and losing in those scenarios because oftentimes they are the underdog. Also, the Nets have, because I like the under so much, the Nets have only won this season when the under has hit too. They're 6-3 when the under is hit in those scenarios. So, I think the best play is going with the under and the total, but I think you can get a little bit of action on that plus money with Nets straight up.
All right, Gare Bear, back on the DFS side here. Spurs and the Kings. Who was the DFS play here? De'Aaron Fox likely to be pretty popular. I know it was more of a pedestrian night on Tuesday, but that's because the Kings blew out the Nets.
Yeah, he and Domantas Sabonis just didn't have to play the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
So I think they're probably going to see their regular allotment of minutes tonight, or at least you would hope. The Trailblazers have been frisky this season. I'm going to side with Sabonis of the two of them. I think they're both great plays. Like, I think anyone's a great play against the Spurs at this point. In the month of November, they have the worst defensive rating in basketball. They're allowing over 118.5 points per 100 possessions. But I think the differentiating factor between Sabonis and Fox is just those secondary statistics. I mean, Sabonis is the point forward, point center. I mean, he's the hub of that offense. And his assists, you can kind of just pencil him in for like 6 or 7 a night. Maybe you get lucky in a high-scoring game, and he's got triple-double potential tonight. Because also, the Spurs don't rebound well. They have the third worst rebounding rate in all of basketball. So I think Sabonis is going to get all over the glass. He's going to score his 20 points, and those assists are going to be there as well in what should be a very high-scoring game for the Kings specifically. So 9,400, I think you could make the case that Sabonis should be over 10K in this spot.
Yeah, Tuesday was the first time, too, in the month of November, so I'm talking 7 games here that Sabonis did not hit 40 fantasy points in that blowout, too.
Ooh.
Yep, I know. He's been pretty good.
All right, Garion thinks it's going to be a high-scoring game for the Kings. Nick, do you think the Kings can keep it going? Like, what's a bet that you like in this one?
Yeah, I think Garion raised a really important point here when you're looking at the total in terms of defensive rating. With both of these teams are in the bottom 10 in terms of defensive rating. They're also top 10 teams in the terms of pace. So even though that over is pretty high at 237, at least last I checked, I still like the over in this one. When you're looking at the spread and the outcome of this one, it's a little bit tougher. I know that the Kings are heavily favored, -7 last I checked. And look, that's fine. I understand the Kings have earned that. But these are two teams that are pretty good when it no matter how you look at this scenario when it comes to covering the spread, whether it's after a win, after a loss, road, home, like this scenario kind of adds up where it's going to be a tough call. So I'm inclined to take the points here. But if you're looking for a one bet from this game, taking the over at 237 is definitely the way to go.
Gare Bear, Pistons in LA visiting the Clippers. Who do you want in DFS in this one?
Jaden Ivey's just too cheap. With Cade Cunningham out, he's $6,900. I'll admit he's going to be popular tonight, as he should be. With Cunningham off the court so far this season, he's got a 32.5% usage rate. That's easily the highest mark on the Pistons. He's only averaging 1.1 DraftKings points per minute. In that scenario, you would expect that to be higher. But at the same time, you have to remind yourself, Jaden Ivey's a rookie. He's really just getting his first taste of the league right now. And I think he's sort of starting to figure some things out with his recent success. I mean, he's adjusting to being essentially the number one option on an NBA team right now, 1 month into his professional career. He's had back-to-back 20-point games. Those are the first 2 times he's gone over 20 points in his career. He had 8 assists against the Raptors. Like, he's really starting to embrace that playmaking role and that scoring role that he has to take on with Cade Cunningham unavailable. So where he's trending, this price point is way too cheap below 7K. Again, 32.5% usage rate. That's a massive number.
All right, Nick, real quick, what's a bet you like in the Detroit-LA matchup?
Yeah, so I do like the Pistons to cover in this one at +9. Whether or not Paul George plays, I mean, I would think he's questionable. He's only missed one game. I gotta imagine he's going to get a little bit of rest going up against the Pistons. This is the Clippers' 3rd game in 4 days. As far as player props go, because I was trying to find some of those with all these injuries beforehand, it looks like they just went live on DK Sportsbook. Garion was hitting on Jaden Ivey. His points prop is set at 17.5 right now. I do like the over in that one coming off 2 20-point games. So yeah, Pistons to cover, and then Jaden Ivey over 15 points or more.
That's it. That's a show. Just
Sure
that producer
is.
Drew said we got to wrap. We
Yeah.
are out of time. But you two did phenomenal. I wish you well the rest of this day and Friday and entering the weekend. Tonight we're gonna have Thursday night episode of the Slate
At 5 o'clock, and then the show will be back tomorrow morning
Yeah.
at 11. See you then.
I think I just had a stroke, man.